Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here. Now, one of the most common video suggestions I get from you guys, one of the things that you're always asking to see on the channel is like a combat guide on how to do combat in the culling and how to get better at the combat. Now, unfortunately, there isn't really a hard and fast rule of like, do this one thing or even do these three things and, you'll be better at the combat. It's a lot of different stuff and it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of trial and error. Even for me, I still lose fights. There's always going to be, I don't think anybody out there will win every single fight. There's always going to be some factor that will cause you to lose a fight, whether it's being outgeared or outskilled or just some other factor that you can't foresee. But I thought the best way to approach this, similar to how I did the tips and tricks video, which you guys seem to really love, I'm going to go over gameplay that I've already recorded. Specifically the fights, and I'm going to try and break them down. We'll pause the frames, we'll talk about what I'm thinking and stuff, why I chose to block at certain points, attack, switched weapons and stuff, and hopefully that'll give you guys some sort of insight into like a bunch of different scenarios look like and what you can do to hopefully win those fights. So as I say, the way we're going to be going through this video is I'm going to pick out all the fights from maybe 2 or 3 games. I'll try and break it down as best as I can, what I'm doing in those specific fights. So this first one, we're already about 3 minutes into the game. I've taken the time to craft body armor, make a full bow. I found some explosive runs and a tonfa, and we're chasing this guy into a building here. I do hear him healing up on the med station, so I opt to pop explosive runs. Explosive runs are a very powerful sort of mid-fight tool. Can help you chase down an opponent or escape from them, so certainly pretty useful here. We are getting a bit of like frame drop in this fight. I don't know, just the Xbox software, hardware, causes me to lose track of the opponent. But we notice he's going for pretty much like power swings here with the brass knuckles. We can see he has brass knuckles because I have the cripple wound down in the bottom there. But to punish those power swings, we can just throw up a block. If your opponent is just going for continuous power charges, they're generally pretty easy to read. So as long as you can throw up a block halfway through those, you will get the block off. And then it's generally a pretty good rule that after you block someone, they get staggered. Go for a full charge swing on them and then go for a shove. Unless your opponent's like smart and ahead of the curve and knows that that's what a lot of players tend to do when they're trying to punish you. After you block someone, hitting them with a full charge swing and then shoving them will generally, after they've taken a full charge swing, they'll most likely want to throw up their block to prevent another swing coming in. So if you hit them with the shove, that enables you to get another swing in. So that's what we do there. We block him, punish him with a big hit, then shove him, and then we get another big hit in. Then he makes a run for it. We're pretty equal on the cripple here. The cripple from the tonfa is 10%, the cripple from the brass knuckle is 10%. However, because I took that time to make the bow, in the event that I did get crippled and the opponent tried to run away, you can use the bow to easily finish off a runner rather than going for that ridiculously long range marathon run that is the culling these days. So basically it just came down to me having a bow, having explosive runs. The tonfa helped as well because the cripple stopped him from running too far. And yeah, like the pinnacle of the fight was blocking his fully charged brass knuckle swings and then shoving, hit him once, and then causing him to retreat, at which point we could just finish him off the bow really easily. So that was that fight in a nutshell. So at this point we've moved further to the edge of the map. The only things that have really changed here since the last fight is I've made a satchel, which has allowed me to hold 2 more items, and those 2 items I've chose caltrops. Caltrops are a very powerful weapon, especially in this meta where stamina is pretty much infinite. Being able to slow your opponent down with those caltrops and also bleed them, which is a very powerful tool as well, certainly helps in a lot of fights. Either helps you get away or helps you stop them getting away. So I'd recommend, if you have the inventory space, just fill it with caltrops. They're a pretty solid tool. So we've spotted an opponent going for either an airdrop or a drop your bridges. I'm not entirely sure, but we know he's in the middle of this bridge here, so we're going to open up with some bow shots on him. Bow's currently broken in this recording, so they are doing double the damage. We get a nice 26 on him. Then we opt to shoot the bridge. If you do see someone running across the bridges, I would recommend either throwing or shooting at the bridges to cause them to swing out. Unfortunately, we missed the timing there. I thought he would have been on one of those bridges, but turns out he was on none of them. If he was on the bridge, it would have dropped him from a great height, crippled him, and done a lot of damage to him as well. But it turns out he's still on the middle section here. So what you can normally do in this situation is find nearby gas, and then just gas him out. He either has the choice to jump off and then pretty much die in the gas, or he can stay up there and then die in the gas as well. So the gas is a very powerful tool to finish off the kill here. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot you can do. I'm going for a bow shot here on him, but if he plays it quite smart and knows that I'm lining up the bow, so opts to hide on the other side now. So we take the time to go and look for some poison gas instead, skipping ahead a bit here. while we were looking for the gas, I heard him break his legs. Important thing to note there that is if I had just noise coming through my TV, I probably wouldn't have heard that. So headphones definitely helping me out there, recognizing that he did jump off. So we go for some bow shots here whilst he's crippled from the fall. I do know in my head now that he is incredibly low on health. He took that 26 from the bow shot, and then he took maybe another 50 plus from the fall, and then another 17 from the bow shot there. So I've got to imagine this guy's like 1 HP right now. So we do opt to run through the gas because we know we're going to get a pretty free kill here. And yeah, one quick arrow ends that for us. We get a good chunk of health back. We do end up losing some health for running through that gas, but ultimately I think the sacrifice was worth it because we're not in any threat right now, and we've netted ourselves some more funk, some more loot. And yeah, that's, I mean, not really a whole lot of skill going into that fight, just knowing that if I shoot the bridge out, there's not really any way that the opponent can escape. And then just either it's a case of setting off the gas or listening out to make sure that you hear when he drops and then chasing up on that kill. So this fight is a bit different from the last ones in that the opponent is a lot more aggressive than the last two. We do open up with a nice 26 from the bow, taking off a good quarter of their health. Puts us in a nice advantage to open up the fight. After this, we opt to throw down some caltrops to try and stop him from escaping, in case that's what he's doing, but we do fail there. If we do feel threatened, we can use that bush as an escape. So a lot of this fight comes down to almost like a mirror match. We're both going for full charge stabs and then shoves and then full charge stabs. Important note there that when I was using the bow, as soon as I missed like the second or third shot, I decided to switch to the melee weapon. Once an opponent gets into melee range with you, just give up on that bow, guys, because you will just end up being disarmed and taking a free shot. And worst case scenario, they pick up the bow and then start shooting you with it. So when someone comes up close and you think they're in melee range, just switch from that bow as fast as possible because you're just going to end up getting disarmed and taking a full stab. As mentioned before, most of this fight was just shoving and then full charge stabs. The opponent was pretty much doing the same. You could fall into a trap that if all you saw them do was go for a full charge stab and then a shove and then a full charge stab and then a shove, that it would be right to try and block at some point. But since I know I'm at such a health advantage, I'm just going to keep doing the same. And as you can see, the shove does finally connect. When he's low on health, he feels threatened enough that he needs to pull up the block. But because I'm just sticking to that shove and then charge sort of combo, and he wasn't able to identify that he should block after I did a shove, we do take the fight here. So at this point, we're moving into the culmination now. I have received my airdrop, and I did pick up that javelin that last opponent tried to chuck at us. We're going for the loot pinata here. I am aware that it is contested, though. I can hear footsteps over on the left there, so I took caltrops down onto the crate. See him going for that full charge swing with the sledgehammer. A full charge swing with the sledgehammer is probably one of the easiest attacks to read because it takes so long to swing that fucking thing. That's a bit of a mistake from his end to open up with a full charge swing. The only time I would recommend going for a full charge swing with a sledgehammer is if you absolutely know your opponent doesn't see you, or if you stagger them or shove them, then that's a guaranteed full swing there as well. So we get the block, followed by the shove, and then the full charge stab combo, which we talked about doing with the first guy we came across in this game. Important to note that we didn't go for a power stab there because that might have been easier to read, so we just go for a quick jab. And then it seems like he's still in either an aggressive stance or trying to figure out what I'm doing, so I go for a full charge stab after that to chunk him for even more health. So realizing the opponent might be somewhat skilled, since he has a sledgehammer at this point in the game, it leads me to believe that he's gathered a lot of funk, which generally you do by killing people, so this guy probably has a few kills, which means he's smart enough to not make the same mistake over and over again. So rather than go for another shove after we do the stagger, we just opt to go for a jab and then a full charge jab. Since the javelin is a fast weapon, we can afford to get away with that. Knowing that he still hasn't opted to block or shove, the only other thing he could be doing is going for an attack, so I throw up my block, which turns out to be a good read because then we do get to block him and stagger him as a result. Then we go for a full charge stab, of course, the smart thing to do. He then falls into the same mistake what he did right at the start of the fight, where after he takes a full charge stab, he then throws up the block. I anticipated that he might make the same mistake again. It's generally like you can do it once, like fool me once, etc., and then you can't really fool them the second time unless they're a bad opponent. But I see a lot of opponents falling into this like mistake of, sure, you get them the one time and then they don't do it the second time, but then if you manage to catch them off again, they seem to reset and go back to blocking straight after they get staggered. So yeah, he fell into that category, does get a full charge stab again. At this point, opts to run away, but since we're so close to him and we have that javelin, we are able to just finish him off with some stabs to the back. So this next fight is another flawless one, I guess, if you can call it that. We see the airdrop coming down, so we can expect there's going to be an opponent there. Sure enough, we see him coming in from the side. So we decide to light up a crafted explosive. If it would have been better placed or the angle of the walls was different, we could have landed that more directly, but it seems like we didn't actually manage to do any damage with him, but it was worth giving it a go. We land with that bow shot again. Pretty much all these fights we have opened up with a nice bow shot, this time for 31 damage because we have a compound bow. We see the opponent cycling through his gear there. He has a bow out first, then cycles to what looks like body armor or something, and then another weapon. So because we know that he's cycling through his gear, it's unlikely he's going to be able to get to his weapon, have the animation of pulling out the weapon, and then the animation of putting up the block all at the same time. So we do risk that full charge swing from the sledgehammer, mainly because I recognize he doesn't have his weapon in hand at that point. It pays off when we do get a nice swing on him. So now down to half health from that bow shot and the sledgehammer swing. Recognizing that he's going to be on the defensive after taking a full charge swing, we do go for a shove. For some reason I do go for another shove after that. I guess I wasn't expecting the first shove to connect or something. Do make a bit of a risky play here and go for another swing. If this opponent was smarter, he would have thrown up the block, having saw me going for that animation with the swing. But I guess after I just shoved... But I guess since I just did one shove followed by another shove in a row, he would anticipate me doing another shove after that, because that seems to be all I'm doing. So we could say that I kind of planned for that and that I was just shoving over and over again. So I was like, well, there's no point blocking then, so I can hit him with the hammer. But that wasn't actually what I did, but I guess it kind of worked out in that way. So we do get another full swing off with the sledgehammer. At this point, I recognize that the only thing that he's been doing is blocking or shoving. So it's likely that he's going to go for an attack at this point, which ends up being true. He attacks straight into my block, which enables us to get another full charge off with the sledgehammer. Has Angry Octopus on because he's a bit of a meme lord, but we're able to secure the kill with another shot from that compound bow and take his trident. Now, important thing to know going into this last fight, in that airdrop from the loot pinata where we killed the guy with the sledgehammer, I did find a remote explosive, which I placed on the ground near to the airdrop. Kind of anticipating an opponent to come in and find all that loot on the ground and pick some of it up. I placed the remote explosive there in hopes that maybe we can get some work of it, but I wasn't sure if it was going to factor into this last fight or not. But yeah, just so you guys know what is going on there. So we have our second to last opponent coming on us here, probably one of the tougher fights of the game. Mainly because I misplay rather than the opponent playing very well. But of course we tried to open up with some of those bow shots since they've made such a big difference in every other fight, chunking them for a lot of health. We tried to do them, but I am a pretty terrible shot with the bow, so we miss all of them. Made a bit of a mistake there going for the swing with the sledgehammer. Like I said in the first fight, opening up with a power attack from a slow weapon is very easy to read, and he was able to block that as a result. I probably should have opened with a shove or just a jab or something, but we got a bit cocky. We thought that maybe he'd be opening up with an attack as well, but it turns out we played it wrong. After we hit his block, he decides to throw a couple of hits onto us, and then expecting, I guess, from after I've recovered from that stagger, he would expect me to go in for another swing, but instead I go in for a shove, anticipating that he's going to be thinking I'm still going to go on the aggressive. Since I opened with such an aggressive move, it makes sense the opponent reads me as playing aggressive from that point onwards, so after he finishes blocking me, and I recover from my stagger, he throws up another block. But like I say, anticipating that he thinks I'm playing that way, I go for a shove, which enables me to get a full swing in with that sledgehammer. I mistakenly go for another shove again after that. Like I say, sometimes you have to respect your opponent and know that they won't make the same mistake twice. So he blocked, I hit him, and then the thing that most players do is then block again after that, so I shoved. But because he's not most players, he's probably in a higher bracket of skill. He doesn't get shoved by that as a result. So we wasted a potential free attack there. Opting to go for some more bow shots now since bows are so overpowered in this meta. It doesn't hurt to try and give it a go. It seems like we can't get a shot though, so I do switch back to the sledgehammer. Sometimes there is a meta to here where you pull out the bow and the opponent thinks, oh great, he's pulled out a bow, I'm going to go in and start hitting him now so I can disarm him. And then you can feint having the bow and pull back up your melee weapon and go for a block, which turns out to kind of work here. Even though he did pepper sprayers as well, pepper spraying to avoid getting hit by the bow since I can't see where he is. He can assume that since he saw me with a bow and I'm pepper sprayed, that it's pretty free to go for a swing on me here. But we know that he's going to be thinking that, so we're holding up the block, and sure enough it works. We get another full swing on with the sledgehammer. So noobishly, we do make the same mistake again, where we identified that he wasn't going to fall for the old get blocked, hit them, and then shove strategy. He knows not to throw up the block after you get staggered and then hit by a full charge swing, because that's like so many players do that. So to stay ahead of the curve and to not get punished by people who are preying on those people, he opts to not throw up the block after getting hit by that swing. And that's twice we've made that mistake in this fight now, so definitely something I could be improving on there. And if you guys are making that same mistake, a lot of that just comes down to recognizing how skilled your opponent is and then how far ahead of the curve you think they're going to be. So if they're a pretty basic player, you can go for a block, full charge swing, shove, and then another full charge swing. But this guy cuts out that last bit because he knows not to throw up the block after he gets hit by that full charge swing part. So there's 2 shoves there that we did in this fight where we could have gotten some damage instead. But we are able to get another swing in there. This guy opting to still not go for a block. He sees me doing a lot of shoving right now, so I guess not going for a block. We are able to get another swing as a result. At this point, he's pretty low. He sees me pulling out the bow, so opts to run away. But like I say, we were able to put that remote explosive down in that little cubby hole where all the loot is, where I killed the guy with the sledgehammer. So rather than just chase him down for the next 10 minutes, I just opt to hit that clicker and blow him up. And the last fight of this game, not really a lot to be said about it. It's just a 1v1 where we both use bows. Turns out I'm pretty terrible with the bow. So against a stronger opponent, I either would have just gone in with the crafted explosives and my sledgehammer, but I really wanted to get some practice in. I didn't see this guy hitting too many shots, so I do try and brush up on my bow skills a bit. But as you can see, guys, they're pretty bad. But I'm working on it. Hopefully the patch comes soon, so I don't have to worry about me being so bad at this bow meta. And yeah, that about does it for this video, guys. I know I said I was probably gonna go through 2 or 3 matches, but I thought this would be enough to give you guys a glimpse into what I'm thinking when I go through combat. If you did find it useful, please let me know. I'm not sure if this is the right way to approach helping you guys get better at combat, but I couldn't really see any other way in my head to do it right now other than just to literally show you guys, this is how I'm fighting, this is why I'm doing it. These things are wrong, these things are right. So much of it comes down to what your opponent is doing and reacting to it accordingly. So if you see your opponent doing a lot of power attacks, then blocking is the correct thing to do. If your opponent's going for a lot of shoves, then just start attacking them because you can be doing extra damage while they're going for those shoves. If you expect your opponent to be slightly more skilled than the average opponent, then don't try and do the old combo where you block, swing, shove, block, swing, shove, because they will get some damage on you if you just keep trying to combo chain the same thing. And so much of the combat comes down to when playing against an opponent that is above the average skill level, don't just keep repeating the same combat pattern because they will catch on to it and then you will get punished. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you go ahead and click the like button. If you want to see more of my culling content, make sure you go ahead and click subscribe. And until next time, guys, I've been Baggins, and I'll see you all in the next video.